On the world news tonight from BGI TV Currents. First are the headlines. We need to know how funds are spent, NLC. Femi Falana meets Tinubu over subsidy crisis, anti-corruption war. Umba monitors state secretariats, others on ban compliance. Commotion in Benue Assembly over election of Speaker. And on sports, 2 new players in as Super Eagles. Coach submit list of players. Now the news in detail. Ahead of its nationwide strike, the National Labour Congress (NLC) has called for the disclosure of how money saved from subsidies were spent. This was the submission of NLC President Joe Ajaero during an interview with Arise Television on Sunday evening. We need to know who these subsidies were paid and what the funds were used for. Can we have the names of the people and companies that collected these subsidies? We have agreed on some alternatives before now. Why are those alternatives not working? He also expressed disappointment following meeting the government and NLC on Sunday, June 4th. According to him, no progress was made because the government did not seem interested in the NLC's position regarding the fuel pump price increase resulting from the removal of subsidies by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The NLC had declared last week that it would embark on nationwide strike on Wednesday, June 7, in a bid to protest the fuel price hike. And to the next story. Human rights attorney Femi Falana was at the presidential villa on Saturday for a meeting with President Bola Tinubu. Information report was alongside other media outlets. The meeting hinged largely on Mr. Falana's quest to help resolve the looming industrial action by labor unions over the removal of subsidy, sources said. The new phase of anti-corruption efforts under Mr. Tinubu was also discussed. Mr. Falana, who has for decades represented the Nigerian Labour Congress and other industrial unions across the country, told the Gazette the meeting was necessary to avert a strike that could cripple the country's wobbling economy further. Mr. Falana said the fight against corruption collapsed under former President Muhammadu Buhari after his appointees began looting public funds unchecked. Labour unions are vowed to proceed on a painful strike across the country if Mr. Tinubu fails to back down on the subsidy removal or enumerate a clear plan to ameliorate the suffering of the Nigerian masses that will follow the elimination of petrol subsidies which have been in place since 1970s. Mr. Tinubu argued that subsidies on petroleum have, however, over the decades, benefited Nigeria's rich and upper working class to the detriment of the poor. He vowed to divert savings from the removal to show off infrastructure spending as well as poverty alleviation initiatives that target the country's masses. And to the Far East, Governor Peter Umba of Enugu State on Monday visited the state secretariat to monitor civil servant compliance with a government order to vacate Monday sit at home. The governor, who was accompanied by the secretary to the state government, Professor Chidebere Onya, recorded the level of compliance to 60%. Umba also visited the Ministry of Land, Office of the Accountant General of the State, Ministry of Finance and Ogbete Market, among others. News Agency of Nigeria report that Umba had on Thursday declared an end to Monday sit-at-home order in Enugu, saying it kills the spirit of entrepreneurship, commerce, and creativity among the residents of the state. He had also threatened to ban schools, markets, retail outlets, hospitals, transporters, and malls that continued obeying sit-at-home order after its cancellation in the state. He also set up a task force to monitor the compliance on June 5th. Meanwhile, there was partial compliance with Governor Umba's order as there was little vehicular and human movement at the state capital. At the government house and the state secretariat, some officials were seen taking attendance of workers present at their various offices. Going on to the next story. There was a moment of commotion in the Benue State House of Assembly on Monday as members engaged in a shouting match amid the election of its speaker. The session had begun with Governor Isent Alia inaugurating the 10th Assembly, paving the way for its 32 members to elect a speaker and deputy speaker. The position of speaker was zoned to Boko LGA, which is Benue North West. The governor is from Vendieka LGA of Benue Northeast, while the deputy governor is from Otukpo, LGA, Benue South Senatorial District. The two candidates for speaker are Becky Open, representing Boko East, and Aundona Isent Dajo, the member representing Boko West. Open was nominated as the party's choice by Pro George Akumekam of the APC, which has the backing of the State Working Committee. She is one of the only two female lawmakers elected in the 10th Assembly, having conversed for support for women in politics in her nomination acceptance speech. Her rival, Dajo, however, received the backing of the governor and his APC loyalists in the state. In his nomination acceptance speech, he urged members to vote for him, saying he is a humble man who is flexible to work with. From Benue State, we go to the next story. A federal high court, Abuja, on Monday restrained Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, from detaining Senator Abdul Aziz Yari, pending the hearing and determination of the motion on notice. Justice Donatus Okoro, who gave the order in a ruling he delivered on an ex parte motion moved by Michael Audona on Yari's behalf, also stopped the Department of State Services DSS from detaining the senator-elect. Justice Okoro hence ordered the respondents EFCC, ICPC, DSS to show cause in the next adjourned date on why the prayers sought on the motion ex parte should not be granted. The respondents are, however, restrained from detaining the applicant until the return date for the order to showcase, he ruled. Consequently, adjourned the matter until June 8th for the respondent to show cause. Information from NAN report that Yari, the former governor of Zamfara, had, through his team of lawyers, which include Abdul Kohol, led by Mr. Andoha, filed the ex parte motion MAT FHS/ANJ/CS/758/785X/23. In the motion dated and filed on June 2nd, Yari sued the EFCC, ICPC, and DSS as first to third defendant, respectively. Moving on to the next story. Nigeria is withholding $812 million on repatriated airline funds, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, has said. This is as Africa's most populous nation is topping the list of 5 countries that account for 68% of the total blocked funds worldwide. IATA disclosed this in a statement on Sunday by its Director General, Willie Walsh, adding that the airline's funds blocked from repatriation globally have increased to $2.27 billion in April 2023. The other 4 countries are Bangladesh, Algeria, Pakistan, and Lebanon. According to the statements, unrepatriated funds increased by 47% from $1.55 million in April last year. If it warned that rapidly rising levels of blocked funds are a threat to airline connectivity in the affected markets. The breakdown of the fund in some regions shows that a total of $812.2 million is withheld in Nigeria, while $214.1 million is trapped in Bangladesh. The authorities of Algeria, Pakistan, and Lebanon are blocking the repatriation of $196.3 million and $188.2 million, also $141.2 million respectively, the association added. And to the next story. The Inspector General of Police, IGP Osman Alkali Baba, has reiterated the commitment of the Nigeria Police Force towards ensuring adequate security as the Nigeria Labour Congress NLC prepares to embark on its strike. IGP Alkali Baba, in a strategic meeting on Monday with police managers, said the force is preparing for any possible security threat. At the force headquarters in Abuja, the police boss told his men to double their efforts to maintain peace and security within the period. According to him, 3,619 suspects have been arrested for participation in various crimes across the country. He noted that the police will do everything professionally possible to ensure that the nation's peace is not threatened, even as the people exercise their civic responsibilities. Moving on to the next story. Political talks, welding sticks on Monday, beat a former governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Ogun State, Shegun Showumi, as the Election Petition Tribunal began its sittings in Abeokuta, the state's capital. Information report that the tribunal began its inaugural sitting amidst tension and watertight security. The tribunal sitting commenced hearing of the petition filed by the People's Democratic Party (PDP) governorship candidate Labi Adebutu against Dapo Abiodun of the All Progressive Congress (APC). The road leading to the venue, Magistrate Court in Shabon, was cordoned off by a combined team of security operatives. The talks in live number were there to support their political parties as the tribunal began sitting. Some of the talks were seen holding canes as a minor clash broke out between supporters of two major political parties, the All Progressive Congress (APC) and the People's Democratic Party (PDP). It took the intervention of fully armed security operatives comprising the police, DSS, and civil defense to disperse the talks before peace could be restored. And to the foreign story. More than 500 people were evacuated from their homes in the northern Ecuador on Sunday, following flooding caused by heavy rains, President Guillermo Lasso said. Dozens of residents climbed onto the roof or balconies of their homes to protect themselves from rising waters, according to images released by the Ministry of Defense. Rain had fallen for 12 hours without interruption, causing 6 rivers to overflow, Lasso said. The priority is to save their lives. Let's protect them. We have already rescued 500 people and the work continues, he wrote on Twitter. Authorities evacuated around 500 people by boat and another 30 by helicopter, the Risk Management Secretariat said. Around 11,750 people were affected by the floods and 16 lost their homes in the province of Esmeraldas, which borders Colombia. Classes were suspended in several towns where schools were damaged. 5 health centers were also affected. Between January and May, 36 people have been killed and more than 99,000 affected across Ecuador. And to end the news is the sports story. The head coach of the senior national team of Nigeria, Jose Pesaro, has submitted the list of players who will represent Nigeria when they take on Sierra Leone on the 18th day in the month of June in Monrovia. On GoNigeria.com can exclusively reveal. Nigeria need a win from the final 2 games in the qualifiers to seal a spot at the next year Africa Cup of Nations. The first of the 2 games will be against Sierra Leone and in Monrovia, the adopted home ground for the Lone Stars. Ahead of the game, the Portuguese coach picked 25 players who will be invited for the game, and they have already received their invitation letter for the team's camp in Lagos. Players are expected to start arriving by next weekend. In the list we gathered, the 2 players were handed a first call-up invite to the team, and the list will be made public later this week, with all the major leagues now on break. 3 players from teams in the Nigeria Professional League were also included in the lists. With the sports story, we come to the end of the world news from BGI TV Currents. Before we go, some headlines. We need to know how funds are spent, NLC. Femi Falana meets Tinubu over subsidy crisis, anti-corruption war. Sit-at-home order, Umba monitors state secretaries' orders on ban compliance. Commotion in Benue Assembly over election of Speaker. On sports, 2 new players in as Super Eagles coach submit list of players. For more updates of our broadcast on YouTube, our handle is BGI TV Current. Kindly subscribe and click on the notification bell. Select option all to access our broadcast. On Facebook, please like and follow the page. For advertisement of your goods and services, coverage of events and functions, please dial the phone number streaming on your screen. Thank you for watching. I am Mori Remila Lawa. Good evening.